It's the Health in the Real World podcast. It's time to start the show with Chris Janke as your host. Here to give you everything that you need when it comes to fitness strategies. We keep it simple and easy. It's your roadmap to get healthy. You don't need equipment and you don't need a gym. Just the right strategies to get you fit and trim.
The Health in the Real World podcast is sponsored by...
You ever notice that life just seems to go by so fast, and before you know it, a new calendar year starts? We don't even seem to be any closer to our goals. And even worse, it seems like every time we focus on one goal, others slip through our fingers. This is a journal I made that is extremely simple to use, creating a game worth winning. It's a paper journal that you write in, old school style, yes, just like the 20th century, creating a game worth winning, a journal to design and implement your goals with money, health, organization, and time management, available at Amazon. Hello and welcome to Health in the Real World. I'm Chris Janke, joined today by Andy Brown. Andy's a fitness professional, nutrition coach. He's been coaching for nearly 20 years. He works with teenagers, college athletes, Olympic hopefuls, senior citizens, and basically everyone in between. And he realizes that every person has a different health and fitness goals, and he really embraces all of those. So we're happy to welcome Andy to the show today. Welcome, Andy.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Chris. Pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you're pretty close to me, maybe an hour drive away or so, maybe a little more, but we're both Warriors fans. You got the Warriors pennants over your shoulder. So it's great. Bay Area. So give everyone a little bit deeper background. How did you get into this? What is your philosophy all about?
It's pretty amazing. Just the kind of the start of everything. I started as a swim coach. I was a college swimmer, still swim as well for fitness, part of my workout regimen. But I was a swim coach. Loved that. Did that for about 5 years. And it was actually my father who convinced me, no, you ought to, stay in the lines of fitness, but maybe cross over to maybe being a trainer. And so I looked at it, I thought, okay, these two, pathways can kind of mesh together. So eventually got certified, and I was kind of doing both. I was at a country club and training in almost like a closet at the time, golf shop, fitness center with little machines and such.
Yep.
And coaching swimming, and then eventually moved on from there to various gyms and things like that. And it's kind of been pretty awesome, ever since. It's something that I enjoy, helping people, motivating people, just putting them on the right pathways, and just keeping them positive. And it's kind of led me to this, and here we are, kind of doing some mobile training now, and keeping the clientele I've kind of had before, and people seem to be liking it. So that's good. They keep calling me back.
They keep calling me back. They keep bringing me back in.
Right.
That's cool. And you can use that, that mindset that you have to develop as an athlete, like you mentioned, positivity. You have to enjoy what you do. You have to be consistent, disciplined. Sometimes you have to wake up crazy early, especially if you're swimming on a college team. And that's cool. Yeah, you can bring some of those elements into your fitness training as well. So that's pretty powerful. Have you do you train a lot of swimmers, or people who specifically maybe want to use swimming as part of their fitness routine, or is it kind of branched out from there?
Yeah, I have, and as far as like doing various things with them, some cases, if let's say certain clientele have pools or access to pools, we'll work on, small things like stroke analysis, also various exercises that kind of cater towards swimming. So yes, I definitely do that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. So you talk about your 3 Bs. I wanted to go this direction today because I think it's really important to get that well-rounded view of health and wellness. And I think your 3 Bs definitely they definitely tackle that. So what are your 3 Bs, and then how can somebody incorporate these into their life?
Yeah. So with the 3B, kind of relates to my last name, when I titled, my own little business. So fitness, nutrition, and then injury prevention. And I like 3. I kind of like the number 3. It sort of, just kind of odd, but it's just cool to, to look at. But fitness, like for that first element, deals with a lot of functional training. So with the fitness, I incorporate working the total body. So whether that's light weights, high reps, circuits, intervals, things like that, that's something that I like working everything, and with obviously minimal equipment to do that with. That's kind of my fitness side. Nutrition, just working on different elements. Everybody's different. All my clients are different. So I'll suggest different needs, whether it's reducing caloric intake, or let's say focusing on some plant-based stuff, or just focusing on what they have and taking small steps and just reducing, any kind of quantity load, whatever it is for food. So I'm very, I sort of not toe the line, but I want to make sure I'm cautious of what I advise them to do, because everybody has a different idea with it. So nutrition, just, making sure people are doing the right things, and injury prevention. I like crossing the lines between sort of like a physical therapist and a trainer. Many of my clientele, they work with, let's say, kinesiologists, or let's say PTs, if they've had previous injuries. And so I like to discuss things with the PTs just to see where they're at, and sort of camouflage, not steal ideas, but definitely, learn from them, and vice versa, which is cool too. So I can implement different things, and making sure that they're doing things properly with dynamic warm-ups, of course, and cool down phases too. So they mirror together, which is great. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, roundabout way, that's kind of what I like to do.
Yeah, definitely. I think throwing injury prevention in there as kind of like a foundational approach is very important, because, especially as we climb the ladder of fitness, and, beginner fitness, people who are like endeavoring on fitness as beginners, they don't realize how fit they're going to get and how challenging their workouts are really going to be. You could take somebody from, I've never done a bench press in my life, to a year later, they're doing, significant weight, potentially, if that's a goal of theirs, and all the other exercises that they're doing. And they don't realize that, I'm really going to have to figure out how I'm not going to hurt my shoulder or my back or anything else. And, if we have, everyone has some sort of underlying condition, right?
Right.
What do they call it? The eggshell effect, where like everyone's got, we all have cracks somewhere. And if you put enough stress on the system, something's going to crack, unless you are proactive and saying, okay, well, how are we really going to prevent any significant injuries from happening? I think that's a really good approach.
Yeah.
Do you have, I'm sure that stems from your athletic days, but have you had any significant injuries where you were sidelined for a while, or?
Knock on wood, as far as I remember now, I mean, just back when, of course, playing basketball as a freshman in high school, turned my ankle a couple times. Yeah. I didn't play hard enough then to obviously get injuries as a basketball player, so I became a swimmer. But just a couple cases where a little bit of like, a little bit of tendonitis, but that was post-college. But nothing, knock on wood, nothing significant. Nice. I've been blessed and fortunate to not have those types of aggravating injuries.
Yeah. That's good. What about, has it always been easy for you? You mentioned basketball as a freshman, you swam in college. Has it always been easy for you to be disciplined, to put in the work? Or, was there a time where you struggled with that at all? Or you struggled with, maybe you got out of shape for a brief period, anything like that? Like
it's, my dad being a teacher too has helped me. He's pushed me and motivated me too as well. So it's kind of been engraved in me a little bit too. I think, it's almost, it's sort of engraved in me to have that work ethic. I didn't really, I think, learn it until maybe later in high school, junior, senior year, wanted to make varsity. I'm kind of a late bloomer in that sense, where it's like, God, I should be, on this relay team. I need to obviously perform a lot better. So I didn't get that until later. And that's when I think things started to develop more so. And like, okay, I've got to make sure I put more time in. And then any little thing would kind of motivate me. So it was a later process, I think. Love doing it, but it's like, okay, I like to work hard, but here are the steps to obviously achieve these other goals. So,
Right.
but yeah, it was later for sure later
Yeah.
in the career.
Yeah, that's cool. Knowing that, I like what you said though about the steps, right? It definitely takes multiple steps to get to where you want to go. What would you recommend to somebody about, okay, maybe you're not as fit as you want to be now, but you can be, but it takes a certain number of steps. What's the process that you talk to your clients about? Like, okay, first you're going to go through this, and then you're going to go through this.
Um, a lot of times with that too, very, very basic with them. So I try to just, let's set, a short-term goal first, whatever it is. Let's say a client wants to lose 5 pounds. Okay. Let's work on, first of all, what are we eating? Let's say maybe let's reduce some of the portions there, and let's add a couple of cardio pieces to your routine along with the functionality. Anything small like that, I'll try to implement. I don't like to, it's easy for me to say, oh, let's go big, but little things like that, just little tweaks and adjustments. Or, if somebody has poor posture, somebody has a low back issue, specifically like lumbar, let's see how we go back and assess a movement pattern of a plank. I always am big on planks because I want to see how they hold that, just of course not for like a long term, but just to go back to that basic element. So I like the small steps, very small, just to kind of get them on the right pathway. And then we kind of go from there. But I like teaching that aspect too, which is, it's fun for me. I want to see somebody develop and, obviously, continue.
Yeah. Small steps are so powerful, right? Just being able to focus on one thing at a time, and then that one thing, you can sort of check that box off your list, and then you can move on to the next thing, and then becomes not easy, but it becomes more manageable, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
very cool. So I want to go back. Let's go back to the plank. I love talking shop like this. What do you look for in a plank?
So a couple things I do. When I first kind of, let's say, meet a new client, I do a little eval. I don't like to call an assessment just because I feel like, oh, nobody wants to be assessed. It's like, oh God. But
I'm going to judge you now.
Yeah, I'm going to write exactly. Right. Yeah, no. So I see a couple things. So I'll put them in either one or two positions. Some people like to have the hands, of course, they like the arms fully extended. Some people like them, of course, with the forearms down and the obviously palms flat or the hard fist. Whatever's comfortable, depending on if they have shoulder issues, etc. I like to look for a kind of like a neutral linear spine. I usually take like an old school, large foam roller, and I kind of look for the 3 points of contact. I look for the C spine, the T spine, and your lumbar. And if that foam roller connects those three as they're holding the plank, just for like a little bit, not like 3 minutes, but just for a little bit, then I'll know, okay, we have some connectivity going on there. If there's some, discrepancies or let's say some weaknesses there, then now I know kind of what areas to kind of focus on so we can improve that. I always do that first just to see, okay, what am I dealing with? What's going on before I start giving that individual, various movements and exercises. So I always look for that first and see where the spine connectivity lies, essentially.
Yeah. I think that's a great assessment. That particular exercise is very powerful, and just assessing where somebody is on those basic movement patterns is good. Just because most of the time, I think you'll have somebody who's not able to do that up to where you want to get them, and then occasionally you'll have somebody who just knocks it out of the park, and then that will tell you as well, like, oh yeah, your planks are great. Cool. Yeah. We can check that off the list and move on too. Because you don't want to be doing like something too basic for somebody who is already at that level. So it's a good assessment tool for that. That's awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna switch gears again a little bit. What do you tell somebody who we've heard the term, and we may have gone through it before. It's more of like a psychological thing, but like falling off the wagon, right? Someone falls off the fitness wagon. What do you tell that person as like, what's your pep talk?
Usually, so if that typically happens, I'll just say, okay, let's first of all, let's go back and go back to the small steps, and just say, let's try, and let's say maybe let's say somebody is falling off the cardio wagon or something like that. Let's get back on, let's say, a spin bike, for example, if they have access to that. Or let's say if it's a session, let's just do 20 minutes, or let's just do 10 minutes, 10 minutes a couple days a week, something very, very basic. Or let's go back to body weight. Let's do some body weight exercises, whether it's knee down push-ups, which still are challenging, focus on body weight squats, fewer reps, just so they get a taste of it. I mean, I like to kind of retract it back to maybe 5, 10, 15, 20-minute workouts, and let's just see what we can do, and then eventually start to build you back a little bit. So it's not full board, because we know it obviously happens often, where people fall off, but let's just go back and take it basic. And then it's sort of, it makes them like yearn for more, which is good. So then I can like, okay, we'll get back on track. But I kind of bring it back even more so. I'm not a disciplinarian. I want to make sure that they're, on the right track, and there's positivity, hopefully all around. So
right. It goes back again to those baby steps. Which is good. Yeah. So Andy, I want to give you a chance to go real big picture to end the show. You are invited to a university to give a graduation speech, or maybe you're invited to a corporation, give like a keynote speech. You're the motivational speaker, and the topic of your talk is how I think you can get the most out of your life. So you can go whatever direction you want to go with this, but like a 30-second to 1 minute motivational speech for the participants.
Okay. I would just say, be the best that you can possibly be. And for health purposes, try to, look at things where you're eating a lot of, let's say, maybe going for some natural foods. You're exercising 3 days a week, whether it's just, something where you're getting your cardio in along with some strength. Your outlook is obviously going to be positive at the same time with that. And just enjoy the journey and what you're doing, whatever it is. Try to find the niche you have, whether it's, plant-based foods, or let's say reducing, portion quantities, or just a little bit of exercise, walking, hiking, jogging. Enjoy the journey and the process. That can lead to different things too as well, because you never know what you can kind of find, and what you like. But good health all around will make a big difference, and that's gonna help with everything, socially, emotionally, physically. It all kind of ties into a great outlook, I would say.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that's great, Andy. How do people get in touch with you if they want to get started with you or ask you any questions about health and wellness? How do people reach out to you?
Yeah, so a few ways. My cell number, always a great easy access, and that's one thing. It's should I say it, or should I? Or
yeah, if you want, it's up to you. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cell number, area code 925-209-1986. Also, my email address, which is 3bpt@andybrownnow.com. And also the website is andybrownnow.com. So those ways are most simple to get in touch with me.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, again, we're here with Andy Brown. He's a fitness pro. He's a nutrition coach, founder of 3B Personal Training. Andy, thank you so much for joining me today on Health in the Real World. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Chris, for having me. Pleasure. Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Health in the Real World show. Make sure to like and subscribe and comment down below. Visit mycorebalance.com to learn more.